I heard that Jaipur is like a very engaged crowd and very excited crowd, and I have nothing very scientific to talk to you about. I have done no research before coming here, so I'm going to ask again. How are you doing? या तो खाना अच्छा नहीं था या सब बहुत डरे हुए हैं. How are you doing, guys? Okay. Family show hai, whistles not allowed, claps not allowed. What is it? Organizers are looking at me. Akanksha is like, bad influence, never call her again. How many of you know how to whistle? Liars. How many of you know how to whistle? None of the boys know how to whistle. Why are you so scared? Your teacher's here? No? Okay. Acha, your teacher's not here. How many of you watch movies? Anybody whose hand is not going up is clearly lying. How many of you watch fairy tale movies or have watched any fairy tale movie? Which was the most recent one? No, Fast and Furious is not fairy tale. Which movie did you watch? Sorry? Frozen? Who else? Which movie? Aside of Frozen, what else? Princess Diaries. What else? Cinderella. How many of you watched Cinderella or at least know the story of Cinderella? Good. We'll come back to it. So I want to tell you very briefly what I really do, and then we'll move on. As I said, I have no data to tell you. I have no research to tell you. Let's have some fun, okay? So, sorry? You want to say something? You want to interact? Say it loudly. Don't fear. Talk up, right? So, I'm going to tell you 3 things which I learned in journey of my life. And I guarantee you, at least with one of them, each one of you will resonate, right? And then we'll move on to why I asked you about fairy tales, why I asked you about these movies. If there's anything you want to even interrupt and want to share, please feel free. So, I was born in a city called Lucknow. Oh, I forgot to tell you what I really do. How many of you know who's really is an entrepreneur? You hear it all the while, right? Who's an entrepreneur? Who's an entrepreneur? No, you can't. Organizers can't. Yeah. No sales pitch. Who's an entrepreneur? You're still selling to me. Who's an entrepreneur? What is an entrepreneur? Okay, fair enough. Anybody else? There are no right and wrong answers, man. Like, who's an entrepreneur? Go ahead. Yeah, please tell me. Let's give the girl a chance. Come on. Arey, you guys are not answering. At least clap for her, yeah.
A person who runs his own business is an entrepreneur?
Okay, so the small differentiation is that anyone who brings some innovation to an existing business is an entrepreneur. Know of any famous Indian entrepreneurs recently? Heard of any recent good entrepreneurs? Arey? Entrepreneurs, India is booming in entrepreneurship scene. Yeah, go ahead, tell me. Very good. Who else? Fantastic. Who else? Ola Cabs. Who else? Flipkart. So I must tell you that currently the global scene for Indian entrepreneurs, it's never been better. Several billion-dollar startups are taking shape in our country, and we should be really very proud. Yes, all of you are very familiar with Flipkart, but there's Snapdeal, there is Book My Show, there is Zomato. Zomato has recently acquired 7 companies across 7 different countries in the last 7 to 8 weeks. So we should be very proud of what these people are really doing. There's an Ola Cab and there's a Taxi for Sure. They are changing, they are revolutionizing how current business is being done. So I'm an entrepreneur. I started about 13 years back. This is the 14th year running. And when I really started off, nobody really called us entrepreneurs. घर वाले बोलते थे, अरे freelancer है, 6 महीने में शौक पूरा हो जाएगा, she'll go back and get a job, right? Because people didn't understand what an entrepreneur really does. And I don't blame them. I come from a family which gives a lot of importance to structured organization. So my brother, he worked with Ratan Tata for about 13 years. My father worked with the Reserve Bank of India. So people did not recognize in the family what an entrepreneur really does. So I took that challenge on. And how did I take that challenge on is the story I'm going to tell you. So let's start with the first lesson. How many of you sitting here with your best friends? He's my best friend. You talk to him badly, I'll not talk to you. How many of you sitting with your best friends? The others don't have. Good friends, close friends, classmates. How many of you have like these friends with whom you've studied for last like 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years? You guys don't even look that old, yeah? How long have you been studying? Okay. I was born in a city called Lucknow, and Jaipur reminds me a lot of Lucknow because food is lovely and it's equally hot. So my father was with the Reserve Bank of India, and what really happened was that every 2 to 3 years we kept getting transferred from one place to another. So I did my schooling across 5 schools, 3 colleges, 5 states. So what that really meant was every year and a half or 2, I was just moving my schools. And it was a very traumatic experience as a child because you had no best friend to sit next to you. You didn't recognize your entire classmates when you moved from Lucknow to a Bangalore, or a Bangalore to a Pune, Pune to Bombay. You just lost track. Those were not days of Facebook, and there was no WhatsApp, thank God for that. But you just completely had to just get uprooted from one place and go on to another. And you were suddenly studying Hindi, and then you were, shipped off to Bangalore, and literally, those letters in Kannada looked like a Tare Zameen Par experience for me because I had no clue what was going on out there. But you had to cope. From there, you moved to another school, you had to learn French. I went on to do accounts, which I hated. But these are things which were necessary. There was no option out of it. So I went ahead, hated that experience at that point in time, blamed my parents, told them that, I'm probably not their, real child, and, they don't love me enough, and they picked me up from a dumpster, and they want me to go through all these hardships. I blamed them for all of that. But what I really learned after that, and this is something my father would tell me when I was growing up, but sometimes we don't really experience it, or we are not able to take the lesson out of that experience when we are going through it. Today, when I look back, that experience of moving from one school to another, of studying under 20, 30, 40 different teachers, of making new friends, of learning new languages, of experiencing new cultures, made me very, very adaptable. Today, I have gone and I have worked across different locations in the globe. I can go and work with people from anywhere, any cultural diversity. We work with global teams. The mannerism of speaking is different with different teams. The expectation in terms of behaviors are different. When you deal with a Japanese team is very, very different from when you deal with a team from the Silicon Valley. But it makes you very, very adaptable. So the first lesson I learned was embrace change. You may not be able to see what it's going to get to you or add to your life, but eventually every change which will throw you out of your comfort zone will certainly add to your character. You can complain and you can be bitter about it, or you can go through it and wait to see what that lesson is, right? I'll tell you the second very important lesson and very important experience I had. And everything which I'm telling you is not an experience which happened on one day and dramatically, like in a filmy manner, everything changed overnight. These are lessons which took 10 years, 12 years, 14 years, for me to grasp. So when I was growing up, we didn't have so many channels, TV channels, and all these satellite channels. We had just Doordarshan and very limited programs, and very limited role models to look up to. Who are your role models? Whom do you want to be like when you grow up? Don't tell me Bollywood personalities. Who else? What do you want to be when you grow up? Like? Sorry? Like Vikas Bhalla.
Vikas Khanna.
Vikas Khanna. I said Vikas Bhalla. Why would you want to sing like Vikas Bhalla? Okay, fine. Great. Who else? You want to be like Ranveer? Oh, he's a good friend of mine. He's a fantastic guy. Who else? You cook. I'm in Jaipur for another day. I'm just saying. Who else? Whom do you want to be when you grow up? Who said Ram Jethmalani? You just want to make money, don't you? Right? You just want to go through all the scams and make money. Who else? Come on, guys. Why so? You just want to make money. Again. Clearly. Okay. At least you've got your goals clear. Who else? Okay. Why? Okay. You want to be a writer. You want to tell stories. Nobody else? Nobody else wants to be like a musician. Nobody wants to be a scientist. Nobody wants to be an athlete. Nobody? You want to be like Steve Jobs. Do you know what happened to Steve Jobs after he built Apple and at about 30 years old? You know what happened to Steve Jobs? What did he do when he got ousted? Witches? Yeah, and what did they do? What's their valuation currently? I'll come back to that. There's a reason why I asked you that. So there were very few role models to look up to because exposure was very little. So one of the role models who was constantly on television was Kiran Bedi at that point in time. So my parents kept encouraging me to look up to her story and she was doing a great job at that point in time, with no offense meant to what she's trying to do right now. But there was a lot of encouragement saying, hey, see what IAS officers do, look at this. It was very aspirational, and IAS seemed to be the most aspirational and the most inspirational thing to do at that point in time. And I came from a family which gave so much importance to structured education that it just seemed like the natural thing to do. So right from the time I was in about my 7th standard, I started grooming my mind and my education to sit for the IAS exams. So for about 10 years, I intelligently chose my subjects in a manner where I could prepare for IAS exams. I went on against, everybody else in the family who went into IIM and IIT, and everybody in family is like a meritorious student from all these colleges. I went on to Ferguson College. I picked up arts. I studied Indian history, political science, all preparing myself to appear for the IAS exams. So my mind was very, very clear. I was going to be an IAS officer, or I was going to be an IFS officer, Indian Foreign Services. Nothing beyond that, because it was just clear. It was right there. It was the writing on the wall. Relatives, teachers, everybody said, oh, she's going to make it. No issues. So about 10 years of my life, I did studying that. And 1 month just before the IAS exam, due to a tragic turn of event and loss of a parent, the entire preparation of those 10 years just folded up because I had to take on the responsibility of looking after the other parent who tragically was unfortunately very unwell. And everything I worked hard for, all that encouragement of 10 long years, arduous studying and midnight oil, literally, all that seemed to be getting boxed up. It looked like there's nothing to look forward to. What do you do when your dream, your childhood dreams, your teenage dreams, you've been a meritorious student in your college and everybody's encouraging you, but life throws curveballs everything does not go according to how you plan it. And I had to take a quick decision on what can I pick up and which city can I move to where medical treatment is better and where I can pursue an alternate line of education. And it seemed at that point in time that Mumbai was a good bet. I moved to Mumbai and I took up mass communication. Guess what? 13 years later, 14th year in the running, I don't regret it one bit. I've had an experience of working with some of the finest global brands, you name it. I've worked with the Australian cricket team. I've worked personally with Ricky Ponting. I've worked with Red Hat, Deloitte Consulting, Pretty Secrets, Apalia Technologies, Axel Partners, Helion Venture Partners, National Stock Exchange. Where else would I get an experience like this? I'm in a very creatively challenging field. I love meeting people. I love traveling, and I'm living my dream. I'm not saying that it's not hard work, it's not challenging, but I wouldn't exchange a single day for anything else. So lesson number 2, when it looks like that everything is folding up, when it looks like that everything's going to hell, when it looks like everything you have studied in a structured format is not coming of help, trust me, it's actually preparing you for something magical. You just have to open your heart to receiving it. It's like wanting to go out of this auditorium. If you're faced with a wall, what are you going to do? Are you going to just stand in front of the wall because the walls appear? No, you won't do that, right? You'll go left, you'll go right, you'll climb over it, you'll find another door, you'll come back. You need to make yourself flexible and open your mind to possibilities. Especially in today's scenario, you guys are just so lucky. Anything you want to do, just anything in the world, from a painter to a writer to becoming the next Sachin Bansal to whatever you want to do to a Steve Jobs, sky's the limit to what you can really do. So when one thing doesn't work out, just believe that something better is waiting for it to happen. And I'm saying this because I have experienced it. So this is where I was asking you how many of you have watched fairy tales, right? So when we're watching fairy tales, like when you watch Cinderella, or let's say when you watch Frozen, right? You're in a happy frame of mind. Why is that so? Because, you know, at the end, it's going to be happy. Either the Prince Charming, you know, even though he can't get the shoe right, is going to show up somewhere. Or something's going to happen and it's all going to be happy. But have you ever analyzed any of these fairy tales? And I would request you to probably go back and watch them again, of what they really teach you about life. Cinderella, life, death, evil stepmom, wicked stepsisters, hardships, Frozen, craving for a sister's love, abandonment, isolation, all of it. Why do they show you all of this? Because this is all a part of life. But at the end of it, something beautiful is going to emerge as far as you keep that hope alive in you. You have that faith. Anybody knows what's the difference between trust and faith? Anybody? Anybody can tell me what's the difference between trust and faith? You say have faith, something's working for you in the universe. Or trust me, I'll do this for you. What's the difference between trust and faith? Anyone? Arey yaar, give me a wrong answer, but give me somebody. Luke, you're not allowed to answer. Anybody? Any of the teachers? Anyone? Who's? You want to tell? Yeah, go ahead. Give him the mic, please. Here.
Who's the one? Ma'am, trust is to trust someone else, and faith is to be keeping trust on yourself.
So the different definitions. There's no right, there's no wrong. That's the way you identify with it. I'll tell you what's the key difference between trust and faith. Trust is when you hope and put your focused, your conscious faith into someone, right? Faith is when you continue to keep that trust even when circumstances don't change. So if you're going through a bad time, you keep the faith I know things are not going this way, but it will change at some point. So you need to keep that trust, you need to keep that faith that something in this universe is working for you. Nothing is out of its system even by 1/1,000,000th of a second. Everything is going according to plan. All you have to do is trust your talent, your hard work, and just keep at it. The third and the last lesson which I'll tell you, and then we'll talk about hope. I turned an entrepreneur, great. I somewhat convinced my family that's what I want to do. I was young, I was out of college. I had just done 1 year of job somewhere, and I said, that's it, I want to be an entrepreneur. Fine, how do you get projects? And we're talking of 13 years back when there were no mentors, there was no huge Thai presence, there was nobody to guide us, there were no global funds. How do you go about being an entrepreneur? Struggled. The first 6 years, had nobody else along with me to work. I was the office boy girl. I was the one who was taking stuff for printing. I was the one who was writing the headlines. I was the one who was servicing the clients. I was a one-member team. So when I would walk into, let's say, a Deloitte Consulting, and somebody looked at you and they were like, that's it? You're your whole company? And I'm like, yeah, that's all I can afford to be right now. Then came the internet bubble burst. And that just sank the whole business. And for about 1.5 years, there was absolutely no one spending any money on branding or marketing because everybody was focusing on surviving at that point. Was I not talented? Yes. Was I not hardworking? Yes. But I didn't have work. And at that point in time, I took on any work which came to me. Even if that meant designing somebody's logo, doing a pamphlet for a jewelry designer, it just doesn't matter. Because we are going to be faced with circumstances where there's going to be no work big, no work small. You have to learn how to apply your talent and move on and tide that phase. All the glory you see of a Sachin Bansal or a Deep Kalra, all these guys, you don't know the hardship stories behind it. Everybody knows about President Kalam. Do you know what his father did? Anybody knows what President Kalam's father did? He was a boatman. He ferried people. Steve Jobs got fired. What did he do? He went on to build a multi-billion-dollar company, came back and rebuilt everything from scratch. Anything and any journey which is going to get you glory is going to be riddled with battles. If it's not going to be riddled with battles, it cannot get you glory. I know Sachin Bansal, I know his story, I know of how they started in a one-room apartment in Bangalore trying to ship books. Any successful entrepreneur you pick up right now who struggled for the taxi for sure guys who just sold to Ola, they sat in a 200 square feet little room, like one little room, like that corner where they really started their company. They had no money, they had no funding, 1 table, 4 chairs, and that's how they really started off. You should know how to apply your talent, not when time is good, but when times are bad. And know that this will tide because everything changes. How many of you watch English movies and are fond of great English movies? Acha, others don't watch, is it? How many of you watch English movies? Have you seen a movie called Shawshank Redemption? How many of you? There's a beautiful line in it. I mean, you know what line I'm talking about? You know it? Do you know which line I'm talking about? Anyone? There's a beautiful line. Hope is a good thing, and a good thing never dies. So the only thing I would tell you from my experience, and as well every single one of you, I'm sure you've gone through your own journey already. You've gone through situations where things are tough in family, sometimes things are tough while studying, things are tough because you don't get along well with a particular classmate, maybe it's a teacher you're not able to resonate with. Life is riddled with these situations, but one thing I can assure you is And just like any other fairy tale, at the end of it, it is going to work out. As far as you keep your hope, your hard work, your talent alive. Right? No, wrong. Right? How many of you can sing? Only the backbenchers can sing. How many of you can sing? I didn't ask good or bad. How many of you can sing? All of you. How many of you watched that? We're just going to play a little jingle. It's one of my all-time favorite jingle. And how can it not put you in a good mood, in an upbeat mood? Because it just has to. Something's wrong with you seriously if it doesn't put you in an upbeat mood. We'll play that, provided no matter if you sing good, bad, ugly, terrible, we'll lock the gates so that nobody runs out. Will you sing it? Will you sing it? All of you know it. Will you sing it? Oh God, guys, too boring. Should we stand up and sing it? Come on, stand up, let's play it. Come on. I better see you guys sing it. You can clap.
Sunshine वाली आशा कुछ कहना ही चाहे
Thank you. So, if I had to tell you one thing to take away from me, whether you remember me, 5 days from now or not, please always remember that hope is a good thing, and a good thing, there you go. Thank you. Any questions? Anything you want to ask me? I'm here tomorrow as well, so if there are any branding related. So I was told, what are you going to talk about? Are you going to talk about women empowerment, branding? I'm like, oh my God, are you serious? Like, let's talk life. Acha, now everyone knows how to listen. Please. What are my retirement plans?
I mean, you want to earn throughout your life, or at some point you just want to sit and spend your money?
So I'll tell you what my plans really are, truthfully. So I'm currently in the process of building an innovation center where I want to encourage young entrepreneurs to build healthcare and education startups. The reason why it doesn't feel like retirement is because I love what I do. So I cannot even think whether I'm working on a Saturday or a Sunday. To me, it doesn't even come across, it doesn't cross my mind that, oh, do I need to take a break? I don't need to. I love what I do. I'll probably teach once I retire. Any other questions?
Ma'am, it's like you said after 13 years you don't feel any regrets that you quit. Actually, at that particular time, we don't realize that what we're going to do, and so how to handle that downfall at that particular time.
So that's a great question, because when we go through it, we feel like the world is ending. That's it. There's nothing left to it. That's the end of it. And let's be truthful, right? Luke spoke about it. We get depressed. We get even extreme suicidal thoughts. It's normal, right? Because we are human beings. We go through that. The only thing which kept me going is I knew that one differentiator I had was I was willing to work hard, and I was not willing to give up. I knew that if tomorrow I'm faced with a situation where even this company folds up, I know I'll be able to work really hard in some other stream. I'll find my way. I'm not willing to give up. This life is beyond what you work. This life is, your work doesn't define you. It's one part of what you do, right? So when your work doesn't do well, or when you have to make a switch, It doesn't matter. You can always come back. 5 years from then, you can always come back and again do what you want to do. Right? Anything else? Yeah?
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, I want to become an entrepreneur. So basically, I have one good idea in my brain. Actually, I would like to ask from you that whether I should share my idea with someone else or not. Means because if I am going to share, I will get more and more feedback. And if I am not getting shared, then I will get less feedback.
That's a
And
brilliant
it's going to
question.
be get steal if I am going to share it.
That's
that
a
idea.
brilliant question. I'm so glad you asked because I meet at least 8 to 10 new entrepreneurs every week. And this is a question they keep asking me. I want to tell you this. Please trust me on this. Have faith. It doesn't matter. Let people copy your idea. Let people go ahead and steal your creatives. I have people who steal my pitch also. They are the one, they steal my presentation styles also because I put it, everything I do, I put up on the net, right? You know why it doesn't matter? Because they can't steal what's up here. They can't steal your execution. Are you telling me that, there are others who can't build another Flipkart? Or are you telling me that before Facebook, Orkut did not exist? It just doesn't matter. Be open to sharing your ideas. You are going to experience heartburn. People will just copy it. People are going to take credit for it. People are going to go ahead and build it before you. It doesn't matter. They can't take away your intelligence. They can only copy your ideas, right? If it was that easy, then everybody would be building billion-dollar companies, right? Don't worry about it. Anything else? Okay, so I'm here. If you have anything else to ask, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, so I'll just have few questions to ask or some few cases to share with Akansha. So first case number one is that a couple of days back I was driving down to my place and I suddenly came across to a young boy who just barged into my car window and just selling balloons. So he quoted 20 rupees for 2 balloons. I asked him, okay, you give it to me. Then he said, okay, why don't you take another one? So I said, you're charging much more. I asked for the negotiation. And those balloons, I bought it for my nephew. So he said, okay, I'm gonna give you, I'm gonna give you 4 in 30 rupees. So do you consider that small boy an entrepreneur or not? If yes, why?
I just know he's a very smart kid. And he'll go on to, if he was able to negotiate and get that money out of you, he obviously did a great job. He's definitely an entrepreneur, someone who's able to innovatively sell his services and products and convince you to buy it from him. There's that story. How many of you watched Wolf of Wall Street? All of you, right? Where he says, sell me this pen? Do you remember? And the guy takes away that pen and walks away home and he says, hello, where's my pen? He says, demand, supply. You're right? So if someone is able to sell you that services and convince you to pay that price, he definitely has a huge future. I don't know whether he's going to become an entrepreneur or whatever else he'll do.
Okay. So Akansha, entrepreneurship is about starting with adversity or it's about starting with a belief?
Honestly, I want everyone to get this out of their head, whether it's about adversity or whether it's about glory or whether it's about fame or whether I have to, fight a battle. It's none of that. People want to believe they're gladiators and, they want to become entrepreneurs. It's none of that. Entrepreneurs are just normal people. They're all people like me and you who just follow their dreams. What kickstarts it is just a passion for you and a belief in yourself that you want to follow that dream. So I wouldn't attribute it to adversity or anything else.
Okay. I remember, meeting Deep Kalra from Make My Trip, how, he just mentioned a fact that, within a 6 years of span, he got listed in NASDAQ. So there are people sitting in our, bunch as well who wants a rapid growth. So what primarily we want to, give a message through you to the young generation or the upcoming generation is that when we talk about the growth, most of us thinks about money as a parameter. And as a serial entrepreneur, what I particularly believe that you should emphasize in your past life that money is always a byproduct. So do you think that at times, having a horizontal base is more important or thinking vertically is more important?
Yeah, so let's talk about growth. And I'm going to tell you something completely contrarian to what you might hear. So yes, it's great to have numbers and it's great to go and ask for funds because you have a number of, numbers to show. This is something I urge to you because you guys are the future entrepreneurs. You guys are the future of this country. What this country has is numbers. It has population. Anything you will do, you have a huge number of people whose lives you can impact. What I would urge you is, don't focus on building billion-dollar companies. Focus on building billion lives companies. If it touches a billion lives, it will make $1 billion for you, right? Right?
Last question. Funding option, going for a round of funding seems to be, a sign of a fashion or a sign of a future for your company. Comment on that.
Amongst the listed companies in our country, amongst the listed, stock
I'm
listed
primarily we're talking about
No,
startups.
I'm giving you an example.
Yeah.
Amongst the listed companies of a country, only 3 companies are VC funded. You look at Tata's, you look at Wipro, you look at any large organization, Infosys, they all started as self-sustained businesses. You do not have to look for external funding to become big. That is not one of the binding criterias. Remember this, only 3 companies who are listed are VC funded. Others are all self-sustaining businesses, right? Look at Tata's.
Okay. Thank you, Akanksha, for a wonderful
you.
session.